All right. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Spendthrift Podcast. Your Bitcoin news, crypto news. Let's go into it with the first article of Is Your Ether Frozen? Well, Parity team is launching support in wake of their little wallet issue. And you can go to a website and send in that, your funds are locked up. So around 600 wallets and people were affected by this Parity mess. And we know it was multi-millions, the hundreds of millions of dollars. I think it was around 150 million caught up in this. But they said that this issue will be fixed whenever Ethereum updates for Constantinople and that little hard fork. And they will not do a hard fork anytime soon, just for them. So if you're hoping to loosen your funds in a Buterin bailout hard fork, it's not happening. They're going to wait it out and those funds will just be sitting there in limbo for a while. Next up, Citigroup CEO thinks a Bitcoin threat will give rise to state cryptocurrencies. As we've all been seeing, that these big business CEOs, they love the blockchain technology, but they always avoid Bitcoin. So they think governments will come in and instead of calling them cryptocurrencies, they'll call them digital currencies. And that's something because most people use these to kind of circumvent government. But in a response to this, someone wrote about how governments can't compete because blockchain is only one component of the overall part of crypto. The other parts are peer-to-peer. And we know government entities are not going to have peer-to-peer solutions because they will, in their minds, they'll be thinking that peer-to-peer is a security risk. So, one component that will probably never be in a government function. Then, utilizing wallets. With this one, definitely agree. I feel like governments might say this is an unnecessary add-on, even if it's actually a very necessary thing. Having a wallet, like specific wallets, not what they'd probably use. It'd be browser-based wallets. The fact that you can keep your wallet in a more secure, open-sourced, the key there, wallet that's on your hard drive rather than a very secure, a very, very vulnerable browser-based wallet. Or I just think governments wouldn't go for secure wallets because they'd probably be like, the common person is too much for them. So they'd have some simple passworded browser solution that would probably have tons of vulnerabilities, and it would be actually more trouble than the hardware desktop-based ones in the end. And the final point that people say governments can't compete on is the miners. That you need miners to kind of crush it up as the last element. I think this is going to be a hotly debated topic in the crypto universe soon about even needing miners. Because, as you'll see, in my interview with Michael Haller, we kind of said proof of work and proof of stake are kind of the 1.0, and people will move away from those into other solutions that are peer-to-peer, but aren't harder to centralize in a few hands. You can't argue that the current miner situation isn't a increasingly centralized operation, even if it is competing entities. But overall, governments probably won't be able to compete just because they adopt blockchain, but not peer-to-peer. Maybe they adopt wallets, and I won't blame them on the minor thing, but I don't see people voluntarily using government-based coins, because these would obviously have to be super ID tied to you. And who wants all their transactions to be that broadcasted and kind of over all kinds of international borders? That just seems too much. So next up, Google Trends is showing that buy Bitcoin is far more popular than buy gold. I think this has to do with the fact that this next little new piece of news of millennials hold Bitcoin in higher regard than traditional stocks. People who would probably be interested in Bitcoin are probably going to be on the younger side, in the under 30 and under side. Aren't millennials like in the lower 30s still, I think they're like, the oldest ones are near 34, 35 or something. But even then, that under 40 crowd is definitely going to be the ones more into tech, into new things, and kind of already untrustworthy of government entities, or kind of already untrustworthy of institutional things that are already here. So it's not that surprising that they would want to adopt this alternate solution, another way of storing your hard-earned money. But it's probably also because buy Bitcoin, since it's digital, there's more kind of presence for the people on the internet. I mean, for gold, people who usually buy gold are on the older side, and you probably see more TV commercials or stuff like that. Meanwhile, with Bitcoin, something like a price spike could happen, and then someone on Twitter could say something and it would just get retweeted, or somebody makes a meme, it gets retweeted, and a lot of people see it, so they instantly go and search buy Bitcoin. So I think that's a bit of a reflection on that this digital thing could elect a instant response just to people, since it will be everywhere on the internet. Next up, Japan. The legalization that they did surges mass adoption. So, unlike most governments, Japan decided to foster an environment where Bitcoin could gain the public's trust and not just be seen like a kind of illegal thing for illegal activities, for criminals, money launderers, etc. So, some say that's why we've seen a massive influx of money from Japan. And now that they trust it, they are all with the Bitcoin. And also, unlike most, mainly Western markets, but also China, Japan has decided to kind of make regulations quickly and integrate Bitcoin and other crypto right into their economy, kind of their financial sector, with laxer, more flexible laws compared to what you'd see in other country. So it's allowed Bitcoin businesses in Japan to really flourish, and compared to America, China, basically anywhere else. So Japan's one of the spots. I guess another one would be Switzerland, and then I think Slovenia is trying to become another spot. No one really in the American side of things. It's particularly Bitcoin haven. Besides, the bread and butter financial place of the Caymans. Wait, whatever. Next up, scared and vulnerable. Bitcoin is being popular, so people are getting scammed. And in Canada, people have seen thousands of dollars lost to Bitcoin scammers. In one such incident, one lady lost $12,000. I think they were posing as IRS, like the Canadian IRS, and saying people needed to submit taxes, and they had to use it. They had to send them via Bitcoin ATM, and this thing apparently worked, and they've gotten, it was around $300,000 from people with this scam because they knew a lot of information about it, and they posed as police officers too. So be aware. I know for a fact that at least in America, we need a kind of an IRS notice, or a lot of government notices. They send it via mail with an official seal. They don't call you, and usually, sometimes they email you. They usually call you to verify things, but they don't call you to take action. Usually, you usually have a mail correspondence of some sort. But even then, you usually can ask them to verify. So I recommend anyone to kind of verify yourself before engaging in any kind of paying entities, because it could save you money from a scammer. Next up, a great topic to talk about: Karpeles. Mark Karpeles. Karpeles. I don't know how to say his last name. Mt. Gox guy. Funny enough, he could get rich off Mt. Gox failing because Mt. Gox still holds over $1 billion of Bitcoin. And unfortunately for the people who lost Bitcoin, the Japanese courts are ruling that they only get the value that Bitcoin was at that time. And it was around $400, $500. So that's how much Bitcoins they get. And then after everything's said and done, Karpeles, whatever, he gets to pocket the rest. And that was around a small sum of 800 million or something like that. I think, honestly, the original source that I read is probably wrong. It's probably going to be more in the league of 80 or something like that. But Karpeles, in a newer source I read, it said Karpeles is getting at least 20-ish% of the value that he had stored in that Mt. Gox was storing, and that's still insane. I don't know why he gets to pocket any kind of money, considering it's basically his fault that people lost money at the beginning. But we'll see. Really sucks for the people who lost money here, because they're getting quite literally a fraction of what they should be getting if they kept their Bitcoins not in Mt. Gox, because $400 is it's only 5% of what Bitcoin is now. 5%. You're getting 5% of what you should be getting. It's insane. But Karpeles is going to get multiple millions. I'd say it's probably going to be in the 50 to the hundreds of millions for his portion of the Bitcoins. That still, it's ridiculous. Next up, most projects fell within 6 months. We don't really have any specifics on this data. I think Dale just gave you like the general information that most fell in 6 months. So it'd be interesting to see like specific factors like how much they updated, team transparency, and like other elements that could ensure a long-lasting project. But just to know your odds that if you want every project you invested in could fail within the year. So keep that in mind when you're throwing money, especially now that ICO mania has calmed down. Speaking of calming down, mining sales have cooled for Nvidia. And I think the little drama with Bitcoin may have played a big part because GPU mining is usually for alts. And they've lost around 46% in the third quarter. And that's about when the drama really started heating up and alts started to kind of take a dive because Bitcoin's kind of being uncertain. But then it started to rise and suck money from alt because all these forks were like, oh, money from the forks. So everyone fled alts to Bitcoin, and I'd say that's one of the main reasons sales are garbage in quarter three. And I don't think they're going to pick up anytime soon because a lot of things they're adopting, a lot of things that are coming are proof of work based. I know there's tons of things to mine, but I feel like Ethereum is the only relevant one that you would GPU mine. Well, mine and not go totally broke from it. But I'm not really with current mining, like mining profitability now. My interest is mining was a long time ago, and I really don't even look at it that much anymore. But speaking of mining, Slushpool has overtaken AntPool to become the biggest Bitcoin mining pool. This is non-Chinese and it's taken to the forefront. And their stance on 2x was it sucks. They don't care about it. So Slushpool might grow just because they're with Bitcoin full away. They're not conniving for Bitcoin Cash. They're not trying to chase profitability and profitability only. They're willing to stick with it. So kudos to them, I guess. Willing to keep with the community and not divide the community, despite mining Bitcoin Cash being more profitable than Bitcoin at the moment. And the final topic here is Atom Back. I honestly thought it was black at first. But it's Atom Back. Bitcoin has the edge over Bitcoin Cash in the scaling debate, he claims, just because it has the opportunity to adopt second layer scaling solutions, while Bitcoin Cash will only have short-term success because its inability to. Interesting assertion. It's kind of right in my opinion. I think Bitcoin Cash will fail in the long run, but I'm not certain how effective these second layer scaling solutions will be for Bitcoin. They'll certainly be better than any kind of on-chain scaling solution. I think SegWit is where it just needs to stay. 2x is just going to be too much. should just wait for the second layer mostly, because that's where all the smaller transactions will thrive. Otherwise, use a different coin like Litecoin or something. But yeah, I think for Ethereum too, second layer scaling solutions are going to be the ideal compared to trying to make things more complicated and make more vulnerabilities by trying to make your own scaling solutions. Because in the end, the more you try to add on, the more risk of failures we'll have, as we can see with the smart contracts. So let's just keep it simple and try to maintain things if they're going good. Of course, we have to evolve, but we should evolve cautiously. And that's it for today. Been shorter than the usual episodes, but about the same length as what I usually do, honestly. I think this episode was kind of garbage because I was kind of distracted. Distracted by the good old Tech and World Tour. But see you guys Thursday for another episode of the Crypto Spinter podcast. We got some interviews that will roll out next month. 2 this week, honestly. Yeah, 2 this week. That'll be recorded. 1 recorded last week. Rolling out next month in December. Not sure if it's going to be 1 a week or 1 every 2 weeks. But look out for those. Those will be some evergreen content you can watch all the time. Be happy until something in them starts getting irrelevant. But mostly, it should be something you can go back and listen to and enjoy and be like, hopefully be like, they were right. Maybe we'll say they were wrong. But overall, you should learn something from all these interviews, even if it's just a small sliver of information. So look out for those. And see you next time on the Crypto Spinter podcast.